guys so much for joining us. And I'm just doing this for the first time on my own. Rachel is ill today, and she's got to go get a COVID test and make sure that everything is fine before she can come into the office. So her family's had a cold, but everything seems to be fine. But Rachel Devine is our branch manager and senior escrow officer at our Boulder location. And I hobble between the Boulder and the Longmont location, but we have offices all over the state, from Colorado Springs and the Pueblo area all the way to Fort Collins. So let us know if you need to be set up with somebody that's in your area. I think that the first part about working with a title company that everybody needs to know is that building a team is really paramount to the success of a realtor. You really could lean on your title representative as a really good source to help you find a reliable lender, inspectors, handymans, tradespeople, photographers, stagers, CPAs, reverse mortgage professionals. Anything that you come across, you should be able to lean on your title rep to help you find someone. A good closer and a title partner truly is like a working marriage. You end up learning how to coordinate all of your closings and all of your contracts in a way that it just becomes a well-oiled machine if you're working with a good title closer. So that is really something that, gosh, at the end of the day, where the rubber meets the road is at the title company. Also, you can use your title team to help you grow your business. So we, as title representatives, sales agents, business development officers, marketing, reps, account representatives, all of us, the same thing. We're the sales agents for the title company. Our job is to set you up with the tools and the programs that are going to help you grow your business. Some of the things that my favorites are down at the bottom. We have HTC Agent. That's going to help you run net sheets for clients when you have a listing. There's also a buyer side deck where you can put in a bunch of information about their loan and how much money they want to buy for the house. It's going to then show you what their payment would be. And that is a huge help as you are trying to decide where you're going to show these people, what their price range is. If they're comfortable with the payment and they qualify for the loan, then you should be able to nudge and play with those numbers a little bit without constantly bothering a lender who is very busy in this hot market that we have. Breakthrough Broker is something that we can set you up with, and they have infinite amount of information and knowledge to articles or marketing materials that will get you going. Value Check is a huge benefit that is unique to some title companies, Heritage Title Company being one of them. We are able to pull ownership and encumbrances reports, otherwise known as O&Es. And these reports are going to show you how your seller holds title, or how the seller of the property holds title, so that you can create the offer correctly. It is going to help you pull farm information so that once you have a listing, you can do 200 of the closest homes to that area or to that property in a radius, and send out a mailer, just sold, or just listed and then just sold. Lately, it's been just sold because things are hitting the market so quickly, or leaving the market so quickly once they hit, that we don't even have time to do a just listed postcard. But truly, you can lean on us to figure out, well, what have you seen the successful agents do? And we can provide you with that information.
Brandy, I have to tell you, Lori McGregor set me up with the HTC app on my phone, and I love it because I can whip out net sheets super fast right in front of them. I can actually download it and email it to them immediately. It has just been one of the most amazing tools that's really helped me, streamline my business. So I appreciate that. So I have to tell you, I'm a HTC fan already.
Awesome. Thank you, Amber. It's so good to hear that. And yeah, there's even a spot when you do that, the net sheet, you turn the phone to the side, or if you're on your laptop, you can click the advanced features and it'll tell you what they would get from closing at $5,000 or $10,000 higher than the asking price, or $5,000 or $10,000 lower. It automatically calculates the change in commissions and title fees based on the sale price. So it's such a huge benefit and help. And it has a lot of, if you do the premier version of it, where you pay $12 a year, then you get a lot of content that you can put on Facebook or Instagram. It has a ton of that type of information. So yes,
Yep.
That's what we're here for.
And it makes me look like I know what I'm doing, and yet it's really information from you all. So I so appreciate it. It's great.
You are so welcome, Amber. And that's what we are here to do, is to make you guys shine. And if you don't have a title company that's making you shine, you need to get a new title company. Truly, that's where, where the rubber meets the road. And the last impression that your clients are going to have is sitting at the table to do their closing. And you want to make sure that the people representing you are doing so well. Okay. Let's talk about ordering title commitments. So when everybody's under contract, you want to notify the title company immediately, as soon as you possibly can, that you're under contract. So the minute you get all of those signed contracts, those signatures on the contract, you want to send in the title order. Doesn't matter if it's at 9 p.m. or 6 a.m. or what have you. It will sit in our email and we'll get it as soon as we get into the office, and we'll start that order. The reason it's so important is because those dates and deadlines, we're responsible to help you meet them on many occasions. Specifically, the CIC documents that you're required to obtain for a seller on that HOA paragraph of the contract. It's really important that you give the title company enough time to get those ordered if you want them to do so. So we don't order the CIC documents unless it's specifically requested. That's something that you need to know as well. So if you have got, if you want that to happen on all of your listings, then you need to communicate that to the closer ahead of time. If it's something that you want on a case-by-case basis, because you've got some clients that are more tech savvy and are able to get to those things, there's a charge to do this. We go through Association Online. They charge us $60, $80 to pull those documents, but they tell us that we have to have 4 business days in order to get those documents in hand. Well, we have to get a signature from your client that allows us to request the documents on their behalf. So we have to get that time, we have to have time to get your client to sign, and then time to get the documents. So typically it's like 48 hours for a seller to sign that doc, and then another 4 business days to get the CIC documents. Also, when you are providing the contract, you need to make sure that we also know the commission split. And we need name and cell phone numbers for each buyer and each seller. So whether you're working with a buyer or you're working with a seller, you're going to want to provide that information to the title company. It's a quick email. If you don't want to share it, if you're not using CTM, which many people do, but if you're not, you can share that information with us via email. You are using CTM, you can share that information on a separate sheet so that you're not divulging the cell phone number of your client to the other agent. I know that is, historically something that people have been concerned about. The reason we need all of that information is because we are starting to, all title companies really are starting to roll out basically rooms where the title and the process of the file in progress is viewable by the parties that have been invited. And it's a secure way to do things because, as you know, wire fraud and things like that are happening through real estate agents' email addresses and even title companies' email addresses, because we are a hot target for those criminals. They fish, and watch our emails unbeknownst to anyone here, and then they copy your signature line and they tell your buyer, oh, you need, to send this money to this account number. It changed by one digit. And all of a sudden the money's gone and everybody's up in arms. So that's why we want to have these secure portals that are holding the information, because it's harder for the criminals to get into them. And that's why we need all of the information that we need. So making sure that I have everything on this slide. You also want us to have that contract right away, because the buyers drop off earnest money many times before we've even received the contract. That just gets everybody up in arms right away. And they're like, what do you mean? You don't have my order? We're like, well, we will probably get it, but it just takes a little bit of time. And everybody is in kind of a panic. So if we have it right away, we open that order. By the time the earnest money gets in, we can provide a receipt immediately, and everybody, starts off on the right foot. Any questions on that? Okay. So now we're just going to talk about keeping your transaction moving forward smoothly. So the do's is keeping the title closer and the title company in the loop. A lot of times transactions fall. It happens. They just, they don't make it to the closing table. Your title closer needs to know this for way more than one reason. We need to cancel out the information in our system. We need to be able to stop working on it, because, from the minute you deliver it to us until it gets to the closing table, we are doing work on the file to obtain payoffs and, HOA information. We want to be able to stop doing that. We also want to be able to return earnest money to the buyer when that happens, so that they can move on and find another house, and so that your property is freed up for the next buyer. Also, something that comes up at the closing table more frequently than it should is that the sellers need to have a bank account that matches the way they hold title. So the names don't have to be exact. It can be Bob Smith instead of Bob J. Smith, or Bob J. Smith instead of Bob Smith. But if your clients are married and they hold title jointly, they need a joint account. If they don't have a joint account, we need to know a couple of days in advance so that we can get a form filled out stating how they want the funds to be split up, 50-50, 60-40, however that happens, okay? Also, a lot of times people will own title or own a property in the name of a trust or an LLC. And they're protecting themselves, from lawsuits or what have you. It's a good idea sometimes to do these things. However, a lot of people will set up a trust or an LLC, and they never go to the bank to set up an account with the name of the trust or the LLC on it. This is a panic situation it's something that we all can avoid if we have that information. They hold title in a trust or an LLC, they need a bank account in the trust or the LLC. Okay. Reviewing your title commitment is, albeit boring, but it is. When that comes in, you need to make sure that you review it. And if you have questions, something looks funky, reach out to your sales rep, reach out to your closer, see what it is that, that's bothering you, and we'll take a look at it and make sure that it's okay. Things that come up all the time are, with a common name, are like tax liens or judgments, things like this. It can oftentimes be easily cleared up with a social security number. You don't want to email that. You want to have a conversation with your closer or your rep, and we can write that down by hand. This is why these things are a marriage, because you have to trust who you're giving your client's information to, not just somebody random. So those things are really easy to go through. Also, ordering an O&E prior to even listing the property you're going to have a really good heads up on what's there. Okay, so if there is some kind of a judgment or a lien, we can get on top of it and make sure it's not your person before you even, go live on the MLS. So also, you want to make sure that the lender is on board and notified of power of attorneys. If the buyer needs a mail out, or the seller sometimes. If there are amends to the contract, you have renegotiated your commissions, we need to be aware. If you need monies escrowed post-closing, the lender is going to have a big say in that. So also, I'm going to just throw in here that when you talk to the lender about escrowing funds post-closing, you need to do so hypothetically, as opposed to telling them immediately, this is for such and such address and this is what we need. I would always pose the question hypothetically so that you have an easier time maybe wording an amendment or what have you so that it will be accepted by the lender. Okay. Any questions there? All right. Well, now we're at the don'ts. So one thing that we have noticed recently, and especially in this hot market, is that people want to close as soon as they can. And that makes their offer more attractive. Well, it does, because the shorter time frame you have to get from contract to closing, it's it decreases the chance that the deal is going to fall. But while everybody wants it to be, sooner rather than later, it's really, really important that you don't jump the gun and that everybody has enough time to ensure that all the issues are resolved, that inspections are performed and loans are approved and repairs are made. Buyers have their federally regulated 3 days in advance to review the documents from the lender. You have to make sure that they have time to do so. A lot of times the lender is going to say, sure, I'll be ready, because the loan officer isn't actually involved in taking care of the pieces that the loan processor or the loan closer or the back end closing department from the loan side is taking care of. So the loan officer says, sure, I'm sure it would be fine. And then when they tell their team, everybody's up in arms. So it's really best to avoid moving the closing date up if you can. Although it's nice for people, it really can kind of throw a wrench in the spoke, so to say. Also, don't let the buyer wait until the last minute to procure funds for closing. So it's really important as well that if you are waiting on settlement statements, which you should most definitely have the day before, but sometimes a lender will not provide us with a balanced CD, until the day of closing. And that's really unfortunate when that happens, but it happens. That right there will tell you how, if you want to work with that lender again or not. But you need to talk to the closer, get an estimated settlement sheet, have your buyer wire $2,000 over the amount that they're supposed to bring or something like that, and we can cut them a check back. To have them wait until the day of closing to request a cashier's check or to send the wire is certain death, because we cannot give out keys until everybody has signed, all requirements have been met, and all monies are deposited in the account. It helps so much to have that stuff in advance. Another thing that I'll point out while we're talking about this that Rachel would normally do would be to say that we need to know the exact amount of money that the buyer is wiring in for closing, because when we are checking our systems for a wire, we get thousands of wires a day, hundreds if not thousands. And if we don't have the exact amount, we aren't going to get the ping on the computer that says, yes, that amount is in the file. So we can do a range, of maybe $5,000 plus or minus what we're expecting. But sometimes buyers will send two different wires because they're sending a wire from one account, with Charles Schwab and another account with First Bank. So if we don't know that, we're going to think that the wire is not in and everybody's going to be in a panic. So those are little tidbits to help you get through closing day with a little less stress. So, we haven't gone over what a title commitment is or what title is, because I think you guys are probably already aware. We do have courses that are Title 101, how to read a title commitment, common pitfalls and what have you, which is kind of what we just went over. But we do perform those classes, and we do provide CE credit from time to time as well. So please, let me know if you need anything. I'm here for you guys. Rachel's information is up on the screen, and so is mine. We are happy to help. Another thing that I'll say is that once you find a title closer that you really like to work with, it doesn't matter where the property is. That title closer can work on the deal with you, and then just have somebody in Colorado Springs do the signing for you. So for instance, if you are working with Rachel, she's in Boulder, you've got a property that your clients purchased in Pueblo, she will do all of the back end stuff. She knows how you like everything done. So it's going to flow in the exact same manner, but she's going to ask somebody from the Pueblo office to do the presentation, or she'll hire a notary to do so. So that's something that I just thought of that is helpful for you guys as well. Title insurance is the rate that you pay is based on where the property is, as far as the title insurance premium, but the closing fee should be based on where your office is, and that's how Heritage Title does it. So you always know when you go to write that contract that the closing fee is $370, split between buyer and seller, it would be, the $185. What questions can I answer for you guys? None?
So I just have a question, Brandy, and thank you so much for the info. I remember when I first got in the business, I thought, "Ooh, title, ooh, that's boring, and ooh, I don't want to look at it." And I remember going and actually touring one of the title companies up here in the Fort Collins area, and I just was like, "All right, whatever." Until I got into closings that had issues on title.
Yes.
So if you wouldn't mind just sharing with us a couple of the snafus that you come across that, like, for example, I know I've come across, unfortunately, somebody that was did not pay their child support payments.
Yeah.
It showed up, and that was against a seller. And we ended up having to pay $17,000 to the, what is it, Colorado Child Support
Protection
Registry.
Yeah. Right.
Before we could actually get clear title on the property. So what other things have you seen that are a little bit crazy out there that we might need to be aware of and kind of look for?
Right. Well, judgments are common. And people will say, oh, that was years ago, but it's still showing up against their name, which also attaches to their property. Tax liens can happen, and we need advance notice of that because it takes quite a while to get a tax payoff from the IRS. You can imagine. Things that happen, we had somebody, Rachel was in a closing one day that we ask you to sign that you are not aware of any, you haven't made any purchases recently that would affect, your payoffs. Well, this woman said, honey, we were showing her the payoff for the home equity line of credit. She said, honey, is that the Chase card that we put the mobile home on, or, the RV on? So they spent $100,000 from their home equity line of credit, not realizing that it was going to affect the closing. They thought it was just like a credit card. So yes.
Yes.
They were intending, luckily, to pay it off with the proceeds from the home. So we were able, obviously closing was delayed by several hours, but we were able to contact the mobile home, not mobile home, I'm saying that wrong,
RV.
the RV company,
Yeah.
and get a payoff and then take that out of their proceeds. And we still close that day, but those are the kinds of things that will come up last minute. Also, if you aren't aware or don't bring to the closer's attention, we've had situations where we go into the closing table and we've got all of the documentation with Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith. And Rachel one day walked into the table and she said, well, where is Mrs. Smith? And the gentleman was there and he said, she's been dead for 10 years. That is a really awkward and uncomfortable situation too. So now we need copies of the death certificate. We need a lot more information than what we originally thought. And those kinds of things can really slow a closing down. So for sure, those are the last minute things that come up on closing day. So it's really important to make sure that you've got all the ducks in the row prior to sitting at the closing table. And a lot of that will show up on your title commitment, right? Your child support lien probably was on there. So if you read through it, if there's anything that you don't totally understand, call your title closer. Mm-hmm. Rachel is awesome. She'll even review a title commitment that isn't with Heritage Title with you. If there's something that you are really concerned about, she'll say, just forward it to me. And she'll look at it and she'll say, well, this is in my, opinion, this is what you're looking at. So.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate all the information and the knowledge. And I know Jill Cox, she's my cousin-in-law, so she's married to my cousin. I attend her monthly trainings, what have you, there, I think are sponsored by Heritage as well.
Industry updates, yes.
Very informational. And we heard from Terry Williams, I believe. Is he your senior examiner or something?
Okay, yes.
Yeah. And it was just amazing information about the different deeds and the way that title could be held and some of the issues that we might come across on that. And I know, even though I've been in the business for what it seems like forever,
right.
I'm always learning new things, and especially in the world of title. So Brandy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For all of your information.
Amber, I sent to you 3 PDFs. I don't know. Let me see if I can open that up and just show you guys what you'll be looking for. So I've got the ways to hold title PDF, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, how many different ways there are. I'm going to pull this over here and share it this way. It doesn't want me to do it. Well, anyways, you've got your ways to hold title, a vesting chart. You've got, there we go. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's got all the different ways that you can hold title and divisions of interest and what happens when someone dies and what we need. So that's a really great PDF to have on hand. We've also got the contract date guide. And of course, this is for Colorado. But this was done by Jill Cox's husband, who is a real estate attorney. And so here it's telling you all of, days from mutually accepted contract is what MEC is. I'm also going to throw in a little thing here and say MEC on the actual contract is a nightmare for title, because we don't know if you are including the weekends or if you aren't, if you have paid attention to a holiday that falls within that 30 days or if you didn't. So it's a guess for us at that point. So when you're preparing a contract, you want to make sure that you actually have hard dates in there. And then we've got types of deeds that I sent out to Amber so that she can share this with you as well. So you've got special warranty deed, general warranty deed, bargain and sale deed, and the personal representative's deed. So all of these things are, we can prepare, but you do have to have an open file with us in order for us to prepare any kind of deed. So thank you guys so much for the opportunity to speak to all of you.
Well, yes, and thank you. And I also just, I'll throw in a plug for your 1031 exchange department as well. I had to pull a commercial deal over that was not going to close at a different title company that somebody had chosen, not me. And
Right.
we were able to get it done within 10 days. And it was a $3.2 million deal. And
Wow.
you guys just did an amazing job because you helped our investors understand what was going on, the benefits and or the detriments of doing a 1031 without having to dissolve the LLC at closing. I mean, it was a mess to begin with. And
Right.
yet when we brought it over, you were able to help handle it and take care of it. And I just, again, I'm a huge fan. So thank you.
Thank you. Mwah. We appreciate all the love. Yes. And please, yeah, reach out. Let me know anything you need. We got your back.
Good deal. Thanks,
Thank you,
Brandy.
Brandy.
Thank you.